Family says I'm being subject to abuse by my 39M spouse, 36F.
How do I know for sure? I, 39M, love my spouse, 36F, but they have struggles.
We have together 9 years. The latest incident involved a profanity-laced rant against me, calling me every name she could think of. I know she was having a bad couple of days, but I'm not sure what triggered this episode. She was fine the night before.
Then she calls my mom to tell my mom what a terrible person I am.
Accused me of lying but never said what for. I told her family about this latest episode. Her family told me these angry episodes directed at me basically amount to abuse. They are trying to help. I hate it when she gets angry and swears at me and calls me names. I get upset too sometimes, but not like her. Once in a while I hear her swear at the kids and it makes me sad. I'm not 100% sure, but I think this recent episode stems from money.
She makes very little and I am making a bit extra at work right now, but all the extra I am putting towards our debts, which she certainly helped accumulate despite my urging.
I think she thought the extra I'm making right now was going to be all spending money, but I'm not sure. While I'm at it, here's some things she's done in the past. Thrown our daughter's iPad in the pond when she wasn't listening. Thrown a bowl of soup across the dining room in an angry episode. We were in another room, but this scared the kids, as you can imagine. Threatened to hit me on 2 different occasions. I love her fiercely, but it's unfair to me to the target of all this anger. Most of the time she doesn't take responsibility and blames me for her outbursts. Once in a while she apologizes. I'm not sure what advice I'm looking for right now. I have worked hard on myself and hard on this relationship, though I'm not perfect. I have a clear conscience right now, and if she leaves me, sure, I'll miss her, but I don't think I'll feel guilty. She has told me she refuses to change but still expects me to. Is this fair to me? Is this how marriages are supposed to work? Is breaking up better than having to live with this shit? What do I do about this? She is an abuser. She is abusing you. And you are allowing her to abuse the children. Divorce her. Sue for custody. Be fair in the split of assets and debts. Move on. One day she will hurt you or one of the children, perhaps very badly. Leave now with the children. This is abuse and she's directing it at the kids too. Protect your kids and get out of this marriage. That is abuse. This is not how marriages work. And your daughter is being taught really toxic behaviors. You and your child need to get out. Also, start documenting everything in writing and video if possible to help your custody case. Your daughter is in an abusive home and you are your wife's primary victim. Please. Please get out. If your daughter were to date a man like her and were in your position, what would you tell your daughter to do? Do that. Model what you want for your children. This is not fair and this is not a normal marriage. This is an abusive marriage towards you and your kids. Love is Respect has really good quizzes about your relationship health. She has anger issues and needs therapy. You need to protect yourself and the kids. Get some nanny cams. What do I, M35, do? Wife F35 will not stop drinking. I, M35, have been with my wife, F35, for 10+ years. She's always drank alcohol casually, but in the last year or so she has definitely developed an unhealthy relationship with drinking, such as getting blackout drunk multiple times, during the day, at home, while working, getting blackout drunk and driving somehow, more than once, thankfully nothing happened, and often drinking during work, therapy, etc. She's lost the ability to control herself in having just a drink. It's always at least a 750 ml bottle of wine or more in one sitting if it's around, plus she hides it. Not well, because I always know where it is hidden. Because she knows I am not okay with it anymore. If she goes grocery shopping alone, it's because she wants to, sneakily, get some wine. After the latest incident she stopped for 2 weeks but then was told that she's okay to drink a glass of wine each night by a medical professional. But I disagree, assuming that she did not tell them the full story about how much and how dangerously she typically drinks, plus she's on medications. I know. Most folks are going to say to just leave her. I don't want to just leave someone I've spent 1/3 of my life with because she's struggling with this. I want to know how I can help her, but it's so challenging because we are unable to have a conversation about her drinking without it turning into an all-out fight anymore. Outside of leaving, which is not entirely off the table,
How can I navigate this?
Too long did not read. Wife has developed unhealthy, blackout, drinking, driving, relationship with alcohol in past year and does not care what I think about it, plus believes she doesn't have a drinking problem. I don't want to just give up and leave, but am at a loss for how to help or navigate this. Al-Anon was a lifesaver for me when I was in your shoes. Good luck. I know. Most folks are going to say to just leave her. I don't want to just leave someone I've spent 1/3 of my life with because she's struggling with this. Look, this is going to be hard to hear, but I've dealt with addicts and their families for over 20 years. She isn't going to get better until she wants to. Oftentimes, they have to hit rock bottom, and even then, that might not work. I get you don't want to abandon her, but at some point, if it hasn't happened already, you will become an enabler. Look into Al-Anon. They have resources on their website for alcoholics and family members of alcoholics. That would be the best starting point to educate yourself on addiction and find resources available to assist you in confronting your wife's problem. What's changed in the last year to kick this into overdrive? Any major changes that would create enough stress for a person to get hammered every night? Maybe start by having a heart-to-heart and ask her what is driving this level of drinking. Is it you? Is it her job? Do you have children? Is one of her family members sick? Maybe you're not doing this, but are you being judgmental and angry when you confront her, or are you asking genuinely if she's okay? If you're just fed up and attacking her every time, then no, that won't be productive. If you talk about it while she is drinking, that is also a dead end. Catch her by surprise, sober, and ask her what the hell is going on. Either you tackle it together or it's rehab and goodbye. Good luck, op. So I've been the sober partner of an alcoholic and an alcoholic addict myself. This sucks, but you need to look out for yourself first. Alcoholism is a progressive disease and she will not get better doing things the way she is now. It's the hardest drug to quit. I honestly struggled more with quitting drinking than quitting heroin, and she's obviously not in a place where she's ready to do that. She will lie to you. And herself. It doesn't mean she doesn't love you, and she almost certainly hates doing what she's doing. I'd also recommend, like someone else, that you hit up Al-Anon, but maybe also read some posts from drinkers on Stop Drinking if you're looking for some insight into how her mindset is, too. She's not drinking because of anything that's going on, and she's not doing it to you. She's drinking because she's an alcoholic. She is addicted to alcohol. This is a progressive disease, and without a desire to change and a radical commitment to action will lead to jail, institutions, and death. First, get help for yourself through Al-Anon. Secondly, she needs to hit bottom, which will not happen unless you action some consequences. Introduce her to Alcoholics Anonymous. It changed my life. I am 6 years sober. Next time she gets drunk, record her. Then, when she sobers up, show her. I would also start trying to prevent pregnancy, because if she gets pregnant while this big of an alcoholic and she has to quit cold turkey and go through those withdrawals while pregnant. Or you could wind up with a child who is severely handicapped because your wife can't stop. Addiction is a hard thing to get through. Meeting would be a good start. Also, therapy. Individual and couples. 27M, found stuff in my wife's 24F phone. How do I trust her again? Trying to figure out if I'm crazy or not. My wife and I just had our 7th anniversary. For those 7 years, she has gone through my phone semi-frequently without me knowing, and would always find something that she didn't like. This usually was something like a single text to a female coworker. Not a whole conversation even, 1-2 texts at most. And she would blow up at me about it. I would apologize even though I felt nothing wrong had been done. She's always been a sort of jealous type, if that wasn't apparent. She's always been super jealous of my ex for some reason, even though my ex and I haven't spoken since we ended stuff a long time ago. The first 6.5 years of our marriage I never went through her phone because I trusted her. One night, for some reason, I decided that I wanted to look through hers for once, thinking I would find nothing. To my surprise, I found conversations with her best friend about dirty fantasies she thinks about with male coworkers of hers and even her boss. She would also make comments about how she had wished I would do more adventurous stuff in the bedroom and how she wished she had a dom. To top it all off, she DMs her ex because he liked one of her Instagram stories, but he didn't respond to her. She then proceeded to message the same best friend of hers about how she messaged her ex, and she said she should feel bad but didn't.
Well, I confront her about it the next morning obviously, and lots of talks come of it. I tell her it's not necessarily the specific conversations that bother me, which granted I didn't like and they bother me some. It's the fact that she would get so angry at me for things that were way less of what I would consider a big deal, and that I couldn't imagine if she had found similar things in my phone. Long story short, she blocks her ex and decides that her best friend of hers wasn't actually a good friend of hers because she encouraged it, and has since cut off most of her communication with that friend. This was something we mutually decided was a good idea. It wasn't something I insisted on.
Fast forward to last week. I find out she's in a group text with her work friend and one of the cute coworkers that she had fantasies about as mentioned above. I told her it wasn't a big deal, but that I feel like she wouldn't like me doing that. She texts me a few days later to tell me that they had been texting in the group chat again, but that she hadn't really been participating.
That night I ask her about it and she shows me the texts, and she definitely was participating unlike she said, and it irked me.
She said she started to participate after she had told me she hadn't been.
I decide for the second time in our marriage to check her phone that night, and what I find under a microscope isn't a big deal, but she basically lied to me.
I look at the timestamps and she had been texting a bunch in their group prior to her telling me she hadn't, and she had deleted some of the texts because she didn't want me to see them. She didn't realize there's a recently deleted text messages folder. I confront her about it and same thing as last time.
She apologizes profusely, saying she was wrong and she's sorry.
I'm just frustrated and feel like I can't trust her.
Each incident on its own isn't that big of deal. But given how she's gotten mad at me before, paired with her lying to me about stuff, has made me feel like I can't trust her. How do I trust her again?
She either has cheated or is planning to cheat.
This should be painfully obvious.
Being blind to it and asking Reddit doesn't change the fact that your wife is guilty of something more.
Bro, she clearly not respecting you.
You have given more than enough changes. She will eventually cheat on you if she hasn't already. I think if you think you want to stay with, better improve and try to be the dom or whatever she wants in the room, as she clearly will go to someone else if you don't fulfill her desire as it's clearly stated in her story. I think couples counseling will help you a lot, and you should give her an ultimatum to cut off all this chatting, and if you find SMTG again you will file for divorce as she is NT respecting you or her boundaries. Say you will text others. I know it's kinda toxic, but it may get the point across her mind of serious the problem is and how the relationship will lose all trust if she keeps doing it.
Her behavior seems rather shady and is at least giving double standard vibes, and is showing a real lack of respect to you in the relationship. It also sounds like neither of you truly trust each other. From what you write, you have good reason not to, and relationships without trust rarely survive or thrive.
Hold up.
Op married a 17-year-old?
Getting married young is tough.
Dude, this is red flags galore.
You need to divorce her.
How do I, 25F, approach my husband's, 25M, hair loss?
Should I? I have never posted to Reddit before, but I don't really have anyone IRL I could ask about this, so here goes. My husband and I have been together for 6 years. We met at university, and I love him dearly. I am attracted to him both physically and as a person. When we first got together, he already had a small bald spot that has been steadily growing over the course of our relationship.
His hairline has been receding, and the hair that he does have on the top of his head is thin and doesn't grow more than an inch or two. The rest of his hair he wears long, resulting in what some may call a skullet. Throughout my time knowing him, I have watched him try whatever is available to him to mitigate this. Rosemary oil, different hairstyles, regain. He has settled on wearing hats most of the year, hoods, and bandanas. His hair is very nice, just disappearing.
I want to be very clear. I do not care that he is balding.
Since it was already a thing when we met at 19, I have always known that this was something he was not only dealing with, but dealing with sooner than most men do.
I am attracted to him, and do not care how much hair he has. My concern is that I think the worsening hair loss is affecting his confidence and self-esteem. He does not go anywhere without a hat, hood, or bandana on.
Usually, he even wears one or a combination of these in our home. I am also worried, to a lesser degree, that his hairstyle may have effects on his career, as his current skullet does not look particularly professional. In the past, I have tried to bring this up and let him lead the conversation, but that has never gotten anywhere because he doesn't really have much to say on the matter.
He has expressed insecurity about it, and I haven't wanted to make him feel bad, so I stopped mentioning it. But lately, I have been wondering if it would be better for him to just accept the inevitable, so to speak, and get a short haircut or even shave it all off. I think it may help him get some of his confidence back, and make him more comfortable with himself. I do not want to hurt his feelings. I want him to know that I love him, think he is handsome, and that this is not about me or my attraction at all. I want to let him know that I think this could make him feel better about himself without suggesting he should currently feel bad about himself. I imagine a lot of his insecurity would be stemming from the fact that he is so young, and from the fact that his hair is really nice, aside from the hair loss. Has anybody dealt with this before, from either end? How should I approach this, if at all? Again, my concern comes from wanting him to feel good about himself. Please be kind. Too long did not read. Husband is balding. How do I, if at all, talk to him about this?
Advise him to shave his head clean.
And compliment him on the masculine look. I'm a woman, and I have alopecia, and my hair has been thinning for years.
It's gotten to the point where I have to wear a hat or a wig because you can just see my scalp always. My partner acts as if he does not notice, and when I've cried about it, he said that he doesn't care and doesn't notice, but he wouldn't care if I were bald.
I am very sensitive about it, so my advice is that you should not bring it up with him unless he brings it up to you first.
Sit him down and tell him how much you adore him and that you have noticed he hides his baldness even at home with you.
Ask him to consider if anything would make him more comfortable long-term, as it's not going to get better.
Tell him you are 100% happy if he embraces it and shaves his head fully. But if he is attached to his hairstyle and wants to fight to keep it, you are also more than willing to assist him save for a hair transplant or one of those hair systems that stays on all the time. Explain you are worried that he is stressed by the problem, and knowing it will only get worse, you want to support him in how to deal with it long term. Tell him his baldness is not a problem for you, but his obvious discomfort with it is.
Tell him it's not a bald spot, it's a solar panel for a sex machine. You should check out r/bald, it's legitimately the most supportive and helpful community on Reddit. Better yet, have your partner check it out.
Hair also thinning top, though I'm like 35. I do a number 1 fade back and sides, with little mess on top, as there's already minimal hair everywhere else now. It still looks snazzy. Eventually when it gets worse I'll commit to the egg.